So I've got to ask that standard question. I hope everyone can see and hear.
Looks like it.
All good.
All good? Right. Okay. This is a bit of a presentation on obviously transmitting audio for your light display and Tune 2 signs. My name's Simon, Lawrence Driver Lights from on the forums. This is just my personal opinion on anything, and I have no professional experience in audio or anything like that. So this is just what I've picked up from doing the display the last couple of years. I'm also just presenting this on a laptop, so if anyone's got any questions halfway through, I won't be able to see them in chat. Someone might be able to just raise their voice. Okay, well, so we're going to be talking about broadcasting audio as part of your light display, both FM transmitters and outdoor speakers, some Tune 2 signs, like a static sign, electronic signs. And one of the things which probably doesn't get touched on too much, which I thought I want to try and add on in the end, is how to actually get the audience, people looking at your display, to tune into your FM radio station. So like I just touched on, we're spending all this time sequencing our lights to music, so we want to be able to broadcast that music out there so our audience can see all the wonderful work that we've been doing. So the three main options are, we've got probably one of the simplest ones. You can utilize some outdoor speakers, like some waterproof ones, or just some generic type speakers, or your old stereo. You can commonly use is some like FM transmitters, or probably one of the better options is to use a combination of both the FM transmitters and speakers together. Some basic audio tips. I know this has probably been touched on possibly yesterday as part of some presentations. Biggest tip, use some quality audio files. They were saying if you put crap in, you get crap out. So if you've got a really bad scratchy recording or something, don't expect it to sound good when you're transmitting it. There's nothing that can really fix that up. Another quick tip, just make sure all your audio levels are all the same. You don't want to have one song really high volume and the next one very low. There's some quite easily available program software out there. We use MP3 Gain just to standardize all the audio levels of anything that you're broadcasting or having on your outdoor speakers. Talking about audio outputs from your show player, that's either from your PC if you're using Xschedule, or a lot of people are using Raspberry Pis with Falcon Pi player. Most of them you've got utilising the 3.5mm audio output. You can also use the USB. This audio output, sometimes in particular from Raspberry Pis, can be a bit low quality. So what some people will like to utilise is an external USB sound card, and the popular one is the Creative Sound Blaster Play 3. I think they're about $30 or something or other. I've tried with my FPP with a Raspberry Pi with and without the little Sound Blaster card, and I think it makes a difference to the quality of the output of the audio. Another big tip, if you're also using a Raspberry Pi with FPP, is to keep that maximum volume output on the Raspberry Pi to 70%. There's something about it starts clipping audio or something like that. I just heard people say to keep it below 70%, and it seems to be okay. That's the volume control level in the FPP options for your show player. Now, probably the simplest way to get the audio outside is to use some outdoor speakers. Generally, some people might have an old stereo sitting around. It might have an auxiliary input or something like that, where you can connect directly into from your show player, or you can run through an amp and run some proper outdoor waterproof speakers. You can get the ones which you can screw up permanently. You can get ones that look like rocks and stuff like that. Like obviously, if you're putting anything outdoor, you need to make sure it's waterproof. So obviously, you wouldn't put the old stereo sitting out in the middle of the yard all day, or all show season. One of probably the downsides with outdoor speakers just by themselves, if you get obviously people turning up in their cars, they're going to find it a little bit difficult to listen unless they get out of their cars, which you may want them to do anyway. One bonus, you have got full control over the volume. So you can put the volume level on whatever you like and you have 100% control. Probably the most common method though is to transmit the audio as part of your display via an FM transmitter. And now these connect directly into your show player to transmit an FM radio signal out so people can tune in on their cars. Just a couple of warnings regarding FM transmitters. Now, I gained some of this information from the ACL wiki page, which talks about a lot about FM transmitters. There's discussion points in there about the legal maximum output is 10 microwatts. So just keep that in mind. You need to be able to find a clear FM frequency to broadcast on. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. One is you can jump in your car and find a clear channel and see if there's anything on it. Another way, there's a couple of websites where you can look to see if there's any commercial stations on that channel. Another quick point just to have a look at, jump on the ACL display locations and just make sure there's nobody locally to you which is using the FM channel which you may be wanting to use. Keep away from other stations. And another top tip, make sure that when you're looking for this free station to transmit on, check it at different times of the day. Just don't check it, once, let's say, lunchtime. Actually check it a couple of different times just to make sure it's free. Some people have reported FM transmitters can cause interference to other nearby equipment. I personally haven't found it with our display, but just also keep in mind that's another sort of tip of anything in this hobby. If you test it beforehand and something going a bit funky, you're on top of it before your display season starts. FM transmitters. There's three popular types. Now I'm going to discuss about these three because these are the three which I've got experience with, but there's a few others. So one of the most popular types is the EDM type FM transmitters. Another one is the CZE 05C type ones. And you can also get these little cheap module type FM transmitters. Now the EDM FM transmitter, they're very popular. They're proven to be reliable. They're probably the Cadillac, I suppose, or the Rolls Royce, which some people refer to as the FM transmitter. I think they come with a 4-year warranty or something like that, according to the website. There's a couple of little things. You do are required to solder a little low voltage input onto the board, which is super easy to do. They're almost plug and play. I just needed to confirm. I can't quite remember if it comes with an AU plug for the little power supply. I don't think it was a problem. It's just a generic, I think it was a 12-volt power supply. It does require a optional little antenna which is like a little rubber duck type antenna, because it just comes with a little wire when you purchase it, because it's actually said for testing purposes only. On their website, it's got where you can click the link to get the little antenna. One bonus, it's a dual range output. They have on the low range and their high ranges, as you can see there. There's also, just to get a little bit more confusing, there's also multiple types of the EDM transmitters available. There's the LCD CE one, which is, I think it's about $215. EDM also offer a RDS. Now, RDS is radio data system, which allows extra data to be broadcast out. So when people are tuned in, you've probably seen it on your modern car radios. It brings the artist's name or song name up on your commercial stadiums. Now, you can program that for what you like. You might want to put your display name or just the artist name or something like that. And there's lots of plug-in options for the Raspberry Pi and X schedule, which is show players. None of that's covered in this presentation, but there's lots of literature out there about them. So if you want to do RDS, the EDM is probably the way to go. Another popular one is the CZE 05B or 05C FM transmitter. These are becoming super popular. They seem to be reliable. They give a good signal. Probably what I've found is possibly on par with the EDM type. It is ready to run. It comes with everything, like the power supply, the little extendable antenna or the rubber duck one. It also comes with a little audio cable. These are sold under some different names. This is where it gets a little bit funny. As you can see, the different names there. Basically available from eBay or Amazon. Now, the price levels of these do change. So I don't know if some are copies of the others. I'm not too sure, but I think I've got a C-Tech myself. These are also a dual range output, 100 milliwatts and 500 on the high, which are quite easily to adjust. Now, one of the bonuses, I suppose, or advantages of these little type of FM transmitters, they're really easy to use. They've got a external volume control knob where you can do a quick adjustment, like a manual adjustment. I'll talk about other type of controlling your audio levels later. Being able to quickly walk up to your FM transmitter and turn it down can be super handy. Another good point of these, they do have, as you can probably see here, they've got another input where you can connect the microphone up. So if you're in your garage where your transmitter is, or put it out near the front of your house, you can actually do that public service announcement, like don't park over my driveways, which will come out on the radio without having to go out and maybe get some people confronting you or anything like that if you're a bit concerned. There's also some other models around. There's a model called a CZE7C, which looks identical. It has a lot higher output, which is definitely not recommended. I have tried one of them, and I did personally find it caused some interference. So just don't buy it. It's my recommendation. This is one example of where more power is not better. So last little other type which I've played around is the little module type FM transmitter. Now these are the cheap ones you see on AliExpress and probably eBay and stuff like that. You can see they're about $10 or something like that. They're a low cost one. They're only supplied as a board. You need to solder your own aerial cable on. Now I think I used a couple of strands of 30 or 40 centimeters of cat cable. Is pretty simple. Just directly onto the little board. You need to supply your own little micro USB power supply, I believe. Most people have got 5-volt supply they're kicking around. They don't come with an enclosure or anything like that. It's just a bare bones little sort of module. When I was doing some comparisons of those 3 FM transmitters, I did find that the output volume level was a bit lower for the little module type. I don't know if it was my aerial or just the board itself, and possibly a little bit of interference, but it worked all right. They're simple to use. It's a low cost option or a solution possibly for a new display, or I've kept one for myself just as a bit of a backup. So you might already have one of those other types of FM transmitters. You might want to just grab one because you do see people making comments on the forums. Oh no, it's this first week of December and my FM transmitter has died. Who's got a spare one? So these might be just a quick little backup one to grab, so you don't have that problem. There's other type of FM transmitters which I don't have any experience with. So there's the vast type. Now I'm not 100% sure on this. Just check your own specs. It might be a USB audio input only. I'm not 100% sure on that.
They have normal audio as well.
It does. Oh, thanks, Lisco.
Yeah, I've got one.
They seem to work well. There's a whole house FM transmitter. Some use. You probably see some people talk about you can buy these little small car type FM transmitters. They plug into your cigarette lighter. They're meant to be used for just transmitting a signal from your MP3 player in your car to your to your radio inside your car. They're really low output. Some people say they work well. Some people, depends on the distance and the transmissions and stuff like that. But I'd probably maybe go back to that other cheaper module type, probably overload. Some people use them. So there is other types available. These they're just the ones which are those 3 ones I talked about before, the main ones which I've got personal experience with, and at the end of the day, they all work. You will hear people talking about antennas sometimes when you start researching on forums about FM transmitters and stuff like that. I found for our display, like we're not transmitting at long distance. I found the supplied one, that's bar the EDM, which only come with a wire that comes, you've got to optionally buy the little rubber duck type antenna with that fitted. Seemed to be fine. Some people talk about, oh, you must have a dipole type FM transmitter. It's a bit like everything. Maybe test your FM transmitter with the supplied antenna to decide if you need to upgrade or change beforehand. There's lots of information out there on how to make these dipole types. So just do a bit of research. Some people swear by them, so they're the best thing. Oh, you must have it. I personally didn't find that you need one, but everyone's displays are different. Like I said at the start of this presentation, everyone has different needs. Some common frequently asked questions which I see pop up. Can I transmit the audio via Bluetooth? No. So short answer is no. You'll get a delay in the transmission, and that'll put all those hours that we've been putting into sequencing our lights to music, it'll be a delay and it just won't look right. So just don't go there. What's the best FM transmitter? Every displays are different. Everyone's got different budgets. Personally, I said just my personal experience, bang for your buck if you don't need the RDS option, being able to transmit that extra information. Those CZE 05, not the 7, the 05, seems to be decent when combined with a Sound Blaster card out of, I use Falcon Player for my FPP or Raspberry Pi for our show. It seems to work fine. Can you transmit over internet radio? So the audience can use their smartphone and download that app and listen to it that way. Again, I would say short answer no, because there'd possibly be a delay in that transmission. Just a top tip on that one, I've had people turn up to our display. I've got this radio app on my phone. I can't get your station. No, it's not going to work. Sorry. And I actually have a little bit of a now put on our display information that you can't do that. Another one, why don't I just get the most powerful FM transmitter available? Surely it's got to be, more power is more better. No, try not to cause any extra issues with the relevant authority. Again, only transmit when you need to. Don't have it going all day long. Just transmit when your display is on. Right. The third option is combining our audio. Some displays have the audience both in their car and foot traffic. That's a bit like us. So you can use both outdoor speakers and FM transmitters, with a splitter cable, or have an FM transmitter and use the radio FM function on your old stereo. I think this is the best way to go because you're getting the best of both worlds. Other options are you can get little portable radios. This is another way that I use it. You've got your job site radios. Most people have got 18-volt batteries and stuff around. You might be able to get a little job site radio. They're not bad quality. They're okay. You can get some little like party speaker type radios. Some of them come with an FM transmitter. They're okay. There's obviously your cheap ones, and you might have an old 12-volt car radio and some speakers kick around like I did, and you just make a bit of a box up and it seems to work well. Again, they're just receiving the FM transmission from the radio signal from your FM transmitter. Also, which is pretty cool, I think, is being able to include some interactive audio options. Now, I think this is, I could be wrong here, John Spiker. His display, he's got a push button. So in foot traffic coming up, when they're turning up to look at his display, he's got the big red button on the reindeer's nose there. He's probably got a sign, I'm not too sure. They can push that and get audio for, say, 5 or for 10 minutes from his little outdoor speaker there, which I'm assuming is located close nearby. Now, he's just utilising a little timer delay relay, which you can grab off eBay or wherever, which will allow the radio to work for 5 or 10 minutes. One good thing about this, again, like with outdoor speakers, is not blasting it all the time, because we've got neighbours to consider and stuff as well. Some other tips, like I mentioned before: test, test, and test. I think it's the number one thing in anything in this hobby. You hear it lots. People were setting up. The second week, they're having problems still in the second week. Just some people have got to do that. I understand, but if you've purchased your equipment a little bit earlier, test it out. Don't broadcast when you don't have to. Have a way of volume control. Either if you've got your outdoor speakers, quite simple, you can do that. You've got remote options to utilise that. You can use FPP, which I do. Pull up on your phone. I think Keith mentioned before when he was using X Scheduler, he can use his phone and adjust his audio levels or whole display even. Be considerate of your neighbours. I know that some people go, "Oh, it's my right, I can do what I like." I look at it this way: we're living next to these people for most of a long period of time. We want to possibly get along with them and maybe encourage them to be part of our display. Well, that's what's happened with us. Another bit of a tip, as part of just your audio, is incorporating that public service announcement as part of your schedule. Now, I've got a little bit of a interlude, so often part of our display is just reminding that audience, to keep their car radios volumes at a respectful level. Now, most people will do the right thing, but you do get the doof radio crowd, which do like to crank the volumes up. So you might be able to see this is just a screenshot from my phone from last year. I had a quick drop the volume to a 30% level through FPP. I actually had 2 warnings set up. One was just the generic, please keep the noise caution, please keep your audio at a respectful level. And then I had one that was more assertive, which was basically saying, I can't quite remember the exact wording, but it was a text. I use a text-to-speech program. So it's actually a file which is sort of running a sequence. Which is running. It's telling basically, hey, it's too loud. If you don't turn it down, I'm going to turn it off. And as you can probably see there, I've got the stop show button. Hit it. Don't be afraid to turn your displays off, people. They'll get the idea. They'll move on. You don't want that crowd coming, as far as I'm concerned. They'll move on. People will understand if they're, the people doing the right thing. They'll hear that car radio, the radio booming. You've turned it off. They'll move on. The other people will understand. Lots of other additional broadcasting audio information out there. The wiki, like everything in ACL and the 101, is a great source. There's a really good Essentials YouTube presentation on optimizing your show's audio. I would recommend everybody to watch that. I think I'll put the link in that sheet. It's also, look on the xlights.org page. That's there. That is really good. Just got to plug my own YouTube channel. I did a FM transmitter reviews a couple of years ago, so it's probably a little bit out of date, on some of the FM transmitters. Now, this one is the EDM. This is that higher power one, CZ type, which I don't recommend to get, and you might see why in those videos. And then the little module type. I did a bit of a lengthy videos on that from me waffling on. Tune 2 signs. Oh, before I jump into Tune 2 signs, has anybody got any questions about FM radios? I'm just being aware of time. FM transmitting, or audio, just FM transmitters.
Never had an issue with the CZ07 ever.
Right, that's fine. Like I said, everyone's got different options, different displays, different opinions. That's fine. How far is it broadcasting though, Alec? That's the only thing you got to be mindful of.
about 20 k's out of town.
Is that necessary?
No, but I like it.
That's your decision to do so.
I play Christmas music during the daytime as well.
Yeah, some people do that. I said everyone's got different ways of doing it. Like I've got a little prelude as part of my display, which is, I think, starts 15, 20 minutes before, just a jingle bell type setup. And it's also got my Tune 2 sign running, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So when people, you'll generally find, turning up to your display early, they know they can get their cards, radios tuned in, ready to go. Good stuff, Alec. Any other quick questions before I move on?
I think if you transmit more than 500 meters, you risk a huge fine.
Quite possibly.
$1,000, isn't it?
Try 10,000.
Yeah, it
Don't
can be a lot more than 1,000.
There's lots of great links in the wiki of the ACL about the different authorities, so everyone can do their own researches on that from the ACL wiki pages.
I've had,
sorry.
Yeah, I've had 2 of those transmitters, and they've had static. I've had to make the bipolar aerials to the frequency. The wiki it has all that details regarding the aerials.
Yeah, did you pick that up from testing beforehand?
It's strange because it worked previous years, but something had changed, and I was getting static.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert in this. Everyone's got different ways.
Usually if it's near lights, it will get static.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. It was near the PC. I think it was relating to maybe the power boards and stuff around the PC.
Yeah, I've heard similar issues. If you're running them off the same power supply, possibly, or that also as your pixels off the same direct power supply, possibly. So, right, we're going to quickly move on to Tune 2 signs. Otherwise, I'm going to run out of time. Obviously, what's a Tune 2 sign? Used to display your light display show info, including FM frequency, plus any public service announcements information if you want to. There's heaps of different options. There's static signs, which is simply do-it-yourself, painted type displays. But we can, as we like to play with electronics and stuff, we like to play around with P10 panels, P5 panels, matrices. And recently I've been playing around with some PC monitors or old televisions as an option. Static signs, simple, always works, which is a bonus. Can be very cost effective. It could be simply a piece of board with some lettering written on it. Some people like to get a little bit more creative. Here a good option, I think, which is basically a bit of painted, I believe, clear Coro or something. And they've put a stencil sticker on it, or painted, over it black, and then they just put a light in behind it. So that can look pretty cool. You can actually spice them up a bit. So with electronic signs, obviously the most common type is your P10, P5 sort of pen. Will, have you still got your microphone open there, mate? I'm thinking I can get a fair bit of noise coming through.
Oh, sorry, bud.
Thank you. So Tune 2 signs, you've got the matrix, your common P5, P10 panels, or a dense matrix some people can use. I suppose you can almost class electronics as pushing some pixels into some Coro to display it. Now you might want to ask your favourite Coro prop supplier, maybe AusChristmasLighting or Extreme Lighting Displays, etc. I'll just say that again, AusChristmasLighting or Extreme Lighting Displays might be able to do your custom Tune 2 sign. I think you mentioned it too, you might be able to do it. And like I mentioned before, I have played around a little bit with using old PC monitors and televisions. The matrix panel, P10, P5 panels seem to be the most popular. Good things about them, you can display extra information, like I mentioned, those public service announcements. there's indoors and outdoor panel types. I'm not going to get into any of that, but the most common type of driving them is Beagle Bones with FPP. But color light cards. I think other people might be looking for that word somewhere. Color light cards seem to be a popular, becoming very, very popular, and seem to be working really well. Some of the downsides, they're more expensive. There's extra things to set up, potentially other things to go wrong. But there's lots of helps and guides out there. There's lots of experienced people within the lighting community, in particular ACL, which I'm sure would help you get your panel set up. Like any sort of electronic components outside, you've got to make sure that they're waterproof. There's lots of different ways about doing that. Some people just put plastic over them or build special enclosures. One of the good things about the matrices and stuff like that, you can do those announcements, have your display times. You can put the artist's song and names. Some people have large panels and they use it for multiple things. They'll use it for their Tune To sign, and then they'll apply effects to it as part of the sequence. They'll then also put their singing faces on it. So, they're making the most out of that one prop, which I think is a really good option. I like to put over to multi-use type props. So I think that's a really good way to go. Quickly going to touch on using old PC monitors or old, LCD televisions as such. Most people might have one of them kicking around or can't get their hands on one. Could be a cheaper option, second-hand or old. There's a couple of different methods for using X-Light effects for these. That's the only experience that I've got in using them. Basically, you can use a Raspberry Pi with FPP and HDMI output from the Raspberry Pi to put the effects essentially onto the screen or the old monitor. Or you can simply just, which I've used before, a cheap little media player. But again, similar to panels, they need waterproofing and stuff like that. Just quickly touching on using the monitor setup. Way that I quickly did one was just using a media player, which basically loops the same information around and around, which you can with these little cheap media players, which just connects via, I think it's via the HDMI cable or whatever connections that you have on your monitors, etc. You can set up a matrix in X-Light. You apply the effects to it like you would any type of matrix. I think I exported it as an AVI file, used that should be converted to an MP4. There's a typo there. Converted over to an MP4 video file, not just a sound file. Huge mistake there, sorry everyone. They're using that third-party software. I think it's called Handbrake or something like that. Might be the software there, and then use that MP4 file via your media player, plug it in, turn it on, and away it goes. Now, I did a basic write-up on the ACL forum about this, if anyone wants to check it out. I think I also put it in that link on that little bit of a handout as such there. I said, another good reason to keep on the ACL forums. We try to keep some newer type interesting stuff happening. Lastly, I've got a few minutes left. One of the big things is getting the audience to tune in. You can have all these wonderful systems in place, but one of the challenges is to get people coming to look at your display to actually understand that it's a sequence display to music. Like I remember on our first year, there was no other sequence displays close by. Some of the audience didn't understand that the effects, sequence to music. And they don't understand the need, to tune in their car radio. So that might be another option also to have both the speakers and the FM transmission. One thing I do see, it might be okay on displays which have been about for quite a period of time or in a location where people are used to. You see the sign that says Tune To, say 99.FM. Some people mightn't understand that. So one thing which I quickly incorporated just on our P10 panel, Tune To sign, I had a scrolling message, which is, as you can see there, it was Tune To 99, tune your radio into, and then it would scroll over to hear the music, Tune To 99, it's just as well as the artist names and other public service announcement info. You can also incorporate that into your static signs, to listen to the lights is a popular one, or tune your radio in on your static signs. So just possibly sometimes, because you do hear feedback from people, people turning up and not sure if they're tuning their radios in. Well, some people don't understand. Some people don't know how to change the radio station on their cars either, but that's a totally different subject. Another way of getting the audience to tune in is you can include a message, instructions if you do any sort of social media posts. I think this is a screen grab which I had, was actually as part of, I think we had a little Facebook page for our display, and actually that was the main shot, tune your radio into, to listen to the music. And also, again, that public service announcement, please be considerate to our neighbours with respect to your radio volume. Another way, some people go outside, they just simply might want to tell people, hey, you can tune your car radio in to listen to the music. Just a little bit more on our setup. We use a combination of FM transmitter and some FM radios, so not the speakers, but the FM radios outside, obviously with the speakers from there, or like the portable type. It's handy for us as our audience views from across the street. You can probably see our displays there. We actually block the front of our display off a little bit, and the public can gather around there. And almost actually, you've got a bit of a hill up here on some land, and I'll actually can't quite see it here. You can probably see there's a little one of those portable radios there, and I'll generally put one further up here on the bank. You can probably see the kids sitting back, trying to watch our display. Another quick tip for those which have got a electronic sign, you're obviously probably not running it during the day. Some people might. I quickly made up a static sign to place in the front of our Tune2 sign for during the day. That was to let people know of our actual display times, and that was simply a piece of 3mm Coro with some information stuck on it, which I found helpful. People might be driving past and they see all this interesting stuff in your yard, and they go, it's on at 8:30. Just finishing up, some quick dot points. Use some quality audio. Really recommend having a look at that X Essentials video about optimizing your displays audio. Be considerate to your neighbours. Don't over broadcast. You don't want to have a reason for people to shut your display down. One of them might be because you're over broadcasting. Too much power or duration of time. No, you can't use Bluetooth speakers. No, you can't use the internet radio or phone apps easily, because you're going to get those delays. Remember, it's your display. If the audience plays up, turn it off, turn it down. It's your display. I know you want to keep everyone happy, but also, we live with our neighbours most of the year, and you might have seen my display photos before. We've actually moved over to our neighbour's house because I think that because we was monitoring our audio levels and display times and such like that. Portable FM radios, very handy, like I talked about, for those busier nights for that foot traffic. Think about ways informing people why they need to tune in. Like, remember, maybe include that extra information on that static sign or your Tune2 sign or their social media posts. And get ready for the question: how do you get your radio station to play your songs?